Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Think we're good. Um, Welcome. Happy Monday. Let me click that real quick. All right. Let's see if this is any better. We were having a little bit of technical difficulty on Friday, so I had somebody had jumped out, had reached out, and Stephanie had reached out and said, "Hey, I don't know if you've been talking to yourself again, but yeah, you have been on mute this whole time." So I was like, "Dadgummit!" Or Saturday morning, I was sitting here just talking to myself. So, what I wanted to do was kind of jump back on. It's super important, super valuable information that was being shared, and I feel like it's something that not enough people are talking about anyway. And so I figured, hey, if we did a recap, couldn't hurt. Monday, lunchtime credit talk, figured, you know, couldn't hurt. And maybe we can get some more people on here. So I will wait a couple of minutes and just see if we can't get a few more people jumping on just to listen in. And then we will rock and roll. So, hope y'all had a great Easter, great holiday weekend. I saw a bunch of pictures that everyone went to a couple of different sunrise services yesterday. Um, and then, of course, the Easter egg hunts and all the fellowship and community building and whatnot. It was really neat. I love seeing just the different things that are going on, the different ways that people are celebrating and reflecting and respecting the holidays and whatnot. But also the positiveness of it all. That's the part that I really love because it's good energy. It's good, just everyone coming together for a good positive cause, good positive outlook, and time for fellowship. So it was really neat to see. So all right, well, um, we're about 3 minutes in. Um, so yeah, let's dive on in. And let me do one more thing real quick. Do. Make sure. Okay. All right. So just wanted to jump on here real quick. All right. So the first things first. One of the biggest things that I was talking about on Saturday morning was about your credit score, and the whole purpose of this phase, this area of financial literacy is really that it all comes to fruition, right? This is kind of the indicator, the end all, not the end all to be all, but the indicator of what your credit score is, what it makes up or what makes it up, and then what it can be used for, right? So if you're budgeting, if you're saving responsibly and effectively, if you are protecting your assets, your digital income, your identity, if you're doing all of these things, the culmination of that and the reward, if you will, is a high credit score, an excellent credit score. So that could be anywhere from 750 up to 850, depending on the model. I think some models even go up to 900. But the most populous, the most well known, the most familiar model is the FICO score, and it goes up to an 850. Okay, so what I wanted to focus on here is on that FICO score model and how that is affected, and what it is affected by in our day-to-day, um, day-to-day activities, day-to-day responsibilities, and what can help it, what can hurt it, different things like that. So I only want to do a quick recap. I'm not going to go in as deep as I had intended to on Saturday. Um, but I'm always open to doing deeper dives into a certain area, going into different strategies and that sort of thing. But I'll do that based off of y'all's opinions, based off y'all's needs and interests. So if there's something that you definitely want me to go into deeper, please let me know, and I'll be more than happy to do what I can there. So, with that being said, um, when it comes to when it comes to your credit score, there are a couple of different um, there's a couple of different schools of thought, right? So you've got your different monitoring tools. Everybody knows about Credit Karma. You see it all over the commercials and everything. You've got credit Credit Karma, creditrepair.com. You've got Credit Sesame. You've got Experian has one. Um, I think Equifax even has one now. There's a couple of, there's a number of them out there. But the biggest thing that I want you to take away is that you may hear this, that, and the other, especially if you're talking to a lender or if you're talking to, a financial advisor, and you may hear that one is less accurate than others. Well, that's not exactly the case. Not to step on anybody's toes and not to say that they are wrong, but when it comes to credit monitoring tools like Credit Karma, like Credit Sesame, they are just different. They use a formula called the Vantage score. And that formula, that model is just different in the way that it's weighted than a FICO score. So the FICO score, some version of the FICO score model is what your lender or an auto dealer or somebody like that is going to run your credit through or run it against in order to get that score to basically make the decision on whether or not they want to approve you. And so um, when it comes to like Credit Karma, they have their own version of what the factors are, and then FICO has their own version. So I'm going to pull up score. I'm going to pull up what interesting. Oh, sorry. One second. Somebody had mentioned something. Oh, I was going to try and do this. Yeah. So whenever they are, whenever they're talking about one versus the other, that's what they mean. So here we go. Awesome. Okay. Um, so when they're talking about one versus the other, that's what they're referring to. So when you're talking about what makes up a credit score, there's 5 factors. Okay. So I'm trying to pull up the website here. So the 5 factors. Okay. So the biggest one is going to be your payment history. That's going to account from anywhere, again, depending on the model, depending on who's weighing it, it can account for anywhere from 30 to 35. Good morning, Marissa. Welcome on. It's going to account from anywhere from 30 to 35%. And so that's why they say even just one late payment can drop your score um, anywhere from 50 over 100 up to over 100 points. Just one late payment. And so that's why it's very, very important to know when your due dates are for your credit cards, when your due dates are, and when it's being reported for your rent payment, for your mortgage payment, for your car notes, any kind of debt, student loans, all of that is very, very important because one late payment can stick with you. Hey, good morning, Summer. Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. So that's why that factor is so important, that late payment history factor. The next one, and you can follow along if you are in if you have a credit report, a Credit Karma account, you can follow along. I'm recording on my phone. Otherwise, I would pull it up. If you go into your Credit Karma app, or you can download it really quick, and if you want to log in and follow along, log into Credit Karma and click on your TransUnion score. Scroll down, and you'll see 5 or 6 boxes, starting with payment history. And then the next one is credit card utilization rate. That credit card utilization rate is super, super important as well, because you have to, there's a lot of schools of thought around this as well. The rule of thumb is 30% utilization. If you want to keep it below 30% utilization, that will keep that factor at a good level. Optimally, though, me personally, I like to keep it between 5 and 10%. Okay, you should never let something more than you can pay off at any given time be charged to that account, because that's when you get in and over your head. Okay, so 5 to 10% at any given time, and again, keeping an eye on those due dates. I have a tool. I have a budgeting tool that I can share with you. Just reach out and let me know if you want it. But you can put in your due dates. You can put in your due dates on when those credit cards are due, but then also whenever it reports to the credit bureaus as well. So you can keep an eye on that. And then the next factor is your derogatory items. So if for some reason you let those late payments accumulate, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120, 180, once it hits 180 days or past 180 days, it's going to be essentially written off, and it's going to be either sold or sent to a different department, where it's going to turn into either a collection or a charged off account. And at that point, there's other things you can do. And I can go into those deeper about how to work with. Well, actually, I'll talk about those in a minute, because I talked about that on Saturday. But once it gets to a collection status, you have to deal with them in a different manner. It's no longer outstanding current debt. It's now closed debt, and it's considered bad debt. And that's a different school of thought, a different process. And then, of course, then you have your account age. And that's why it's so important to never close a credit card or an account, if you can help it, because the older that account, the more leverage, the more strength, the more weight that account is going to carry, because it has a deeper account age, and it's going to help your credit score even more. So if you have an old credit card, don't close it. Just let it sit there. If you have to put it away and let it keep revolving, put it away and charge, a stick of gum or put a candy bar on it once a month or once every other month, something like that. And then put it back and pay it off, and just let it revolve. And don't worry about it. Even though it may be as little as like a $300 credit limit or $500 credit limit, just let it sit there. It's not doing any harm, unless you close it, and then it will harm your credit score. So keep that revolving. But one of the things that I talked about on Friday or on Saturday was the seesaw effect. So one of the things you want to do, because again, if you are constantly closing accounts, your credit score is going to be lopsided. And so what you want to do is, on this side of the seesaw, you want to have anywhere from 4 to 6 accounts, installment loans. So that could be a car note, that could be a mortgage payment, that could be a personal loan, that could be a student loan, anything like that. But it's reflecting on your credit as an installment loan. And then over here, I'll come back to that in just a second. There's another one, but I'll over here, then you have your credit cards. So you should have anywhere from 5 to 10 credit cards at any given time, using them responsibly. If you're using them responsibly, you can maximize your credit score just by having all of those open and continuing to rotate through them and putting them away. Use them once a month, put them away. Use them once a month, put them away, and just rotate. And so as you're going through that, you're keeping that balanced with the amount of account age, because once your credit score drops off, or excuse me, once let's say for instance your auto loan drops off because you paid it off, then it's going to become lopsided. And if you don't have enough account age on your credit score or credit card side, that score's going to drop. It's going to plummet. And so you want to have enough account age to prop it up on both sides of that seesaw, to where if something happens, if a credit card goes into default and your credit score drops, or your account age, average age drops, you want to have enough on your installment side or enough other credit cards to keep it propped up so that the impact is not as drastic. Okay. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, or if you have other questions about that, let me know. And I'll be more than happy to talk about that on the side if you have a specific scenario, or, if you want me to do another live, I can go into that deeper. But going back to the installment loans real quick, one that most people don't think about or don't know about is their rent. Your rent can actually be reported on your credit bureaus, on your credit reports through the credit bureaus. So it's normally not done through the landlords. You have to go through a program, but I have a solution for it that I can provide you. It's very, very reasonable. I think it's like less than $10 a month, but it reports your rent payments. And especially these days, having a $2,000 or $2,400 rent payment and just paying for it just so that you have, something, so that you have a roof over your head. I mean, you have to maximize your dollars. That's not enough these days. You need to get that on your rent, on your credit bureau reports, on your credit reports, if you're not already. So if your rent payment is just going to the landlord and that's it, you need to do more. You need to allow it to work for you more. Okay. So that's the seesaw, and then removing negative items. And then last but not least, is your building positive trade lines. So the rent reporting can do that. Secured cards, if you're trying to build your credit, secured cards are really good about starting off building your credit. But then if let's say you're already up to a 650 or 700, or even a 7, a little over, there are other cards that you can continue building your score. And that's when you can get into, rewards cards or Sky Miles, or, different, Home Depot cards, different things like that. And once you have that discipline, that's when you can really start to take advantage of those perks. But if you don't have that discipline, then it's just, you're going to get trapped, just like any other debt, any other type of debt. So I hope that helped. I know this was really short and simple and to the point, but I just wanted to do a quick recap and just kind of get that information out to you during this credit talk. If you have any questions, I saw some people had dropped off, but if you have any questions, if you're on the replay, feel free to ask a question and just hit #replay. And I'll be more than happy to reach back out and get those answered. But I'll stay on here a little bit longer and answer any questions that you may have. So hope this was valuable. If it was, please let me know. I see a couple of hearts, so I appreciate all the love there. And if you have any questions, if if there's something that you want me to go more in detail in, um, certainly let me know that as well. So, one thing I will mention, I kind of glossed over about collections real quick. Um, One of the things that I had mentioned on Saturday that I think is really important to know is when you see me doing these posts and doing these lives and sharing this information, please keep in mind that what I'm doing is operating under the Fair Credit Reporting Act as well as the Fair sorry, I always get this wrong. I want to make sure that I get it right. It is the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act. So the FDCPA, and the FDCPA basically states that collection agencies or debt collection companies are prohibited from using abusive, unfair, or deceptive practices to collect a debt from you. So basically, all that's saying is they can't call you late at night. They can only call you so many times within a 24-hour period. And really, what they are trying to do, especially with a third party collection company, they are trying to gather enough evidence that ties you to that debt to where they can move the process forward um, in either providing a subpoena, or putting in a process to collect a judgment to have a judgment sentence. That's really their end goal, is to either get money from you or have the courts do it for them. But if they don't have anything tying to you because it either didn't come in the data that they purchased from you from the original creditor, or it's not valid data, because the statistics showed that 85% of all Americans have an inaccuracy, at least one inaccuracy on their credit reports, then they may not be able to have enough data that is tied to you if you have a collections or a charged off account or any kind of derogatory item. So when we talk about collections, going back to what I was talking about, we operate under the Fair Credit Reporting Act and this Fair Debt Collections Practices Act. We're trying to act on your behalf because we don't know if something is or is not tied to you. Yes, you can tell us, hey, I spent this money, I charged it to account, whatever. Right. That's true. But what our number one goal is not to do the job of the collection agency for them, because that's ultimately what they would be doing by admitting that you did do that. But we want to have them prove that they have enough evidence that ties you to that fact that you did do that. And so if they don't have enough evidence that ties you to that debt, then under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, FCRA, they have to throw out that account. And if they throw out that account because it's in derogatory status and the account is already closed anyway, it's not your obligation. Okay. So again, not trying to say that we're doing anything shady, and we're definitely not doing anything illegal. We are literally abiding under the statute that the collection agencies, that the credit bureaus, and the original creditors are operating under as well. We're just doing it on your behalf. I'm doing it on your behalf. Okay. So I wanted to make that clear, that when I'm putting out these posts like, oh, I can get student loans removed, I can get evictions removed, I can get bankruptcies removed. Yes, we can, because I've seen it done, but it's not 100%. But at the same time, you don't know unless you try, right? So all that we can do is try, but we can give you the best chance possible because we have a team of credit attorneys with decades of collective experience working on your behalf to do this. Okay. So I hope that was worth jumping on for. I hope that provided value. Please, ask questions. I'm here to answer as much as I can. If I don't have an answer while I'm on, I will take it and go and research it, and I'll get you an answer. And it may be, if you have a question, I'm sure a lot of other people do as well. So, feel free to ask, and who knows, maybe it'll turn into another live as well. So, give me more more food to more topics to talk about, more value to put out there, and in turn being able to help more people. So, um, yeah. So, with that being said, we are almost at 30 minutes. Again, I hope y'all have had a great weekend. I hope y'all have a great week. Um, if you get this again down the road and you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Um, I even though this is on Dreamlife Innovations, I check this account daily, if not a couple times a day. So try and be as active on here as possible. Um, yeah. All right. Well, with that being said, I'll go ahead and wrap it up. And until next time, hope y'all have a great Monday.